I heard a crazy rumor that XRP could hit $1,000 and thought, there's just no way. Then I stumbled on something that, well, has me questioning everything. You ever read something so wild that you do a double take? Well, that was me at midnight, scrolling through crypto news with one eye half opened. And I'm an XRP holder. I have been for many years, and I'm kind of used to big promises. But when I saw someone, seriously claim that XRP could go from around $3 to $1,000, I nearly kind of spat out my coffee. Right, $1,000 per XRP. That's kind of like 33,233% jump from today. Kind of sounded like pure hopium, or maybe even a typo. I could practically hear the skeptics laughing from across the internet. So why did I find myself then not laughing, but actually digging even deeper? Well, it actually turns out that the guy behind this prediction isn't some anonymous moon boy on Twitter. It's known as Dom Kwok, a co-founder of a crypto app called ETFs. And he laid out a bit of a roadmap for XRP to reach the four figures. And as a long-time XRP holder myself, I had to find out, is this guy onto something real, or is he as delusional as the people claiming the Earth is flat? So, you want to grab something comfy here, a comfy seat, because what I'm about to kind of take you on is a roller coaster of a ride of how I went from I roll to, he might actually have a point. And trust me here, right? The twists here are worth sticking around for. So let's go ahead and set the stage. XRP is chilling at around $3 per coin right now at the point of recording. It's respectable, sure, but nowhere near the kind of Bitcoin or Ethereum price leagues. And here comes, Dom saying in a New York Stock Exchange interview, no less, that XRP could hit $1,000 by 2030. Yeah, that was 2030. That's only 5 years away. So my first thought was, all right, who gave this guy the good stuff and how can I get some? Right? Now, if XRP hits $1,000, its market cap, of course, would be astronomical, like possibly more than some country's GDP or even the entire stock market. Now, according to some critics, it sounded absolutely absurd on the face of it. But Dom didn't just blurt this out without kind of reasoning, and here is where I started kind of paying close attention. He pointed to a combination of factors here, not just one magic bullet, that could drive such a rise, and think of it more like a perfect storm scenario. Right? The first part of this perfect storm is something that a lot of us crypto people have been, harping on for quite a while. The traditional banking system is kind of, broken, especially for moving money across the borders. Now, right, the whole SWIFT system that kind of banks use, it's kind of old. It's kind of like Telegram in the age of the internet, right? It's expensive fees. It's got slow transfers. It's begging for disruption. Now, Dom suggests that if organizations and regular people start routing a good chunk of those international payments through the XRP ledger, instead of good old-fashioned SWIFT, well, the activity on the XRP's network could, of course, explode. And we're not just talking about a few geeks trading magic internet coins here. We're talking about billions of dollars in remittances, business transfers, charitable funds, all flowing through XRP. Basically, real-world uses, these cases ramping up, and big time, beyond the just SWIFT replacement idea. It's kind of like finally putting a super highway to use after years of just, having a bike traffic on it. Now, that's just one ingredient. The next part of Dom's argument here actually took me by surprise. Right, he compared XRP's situation to Nvidia. Yeah, that's the graphics card company to many and an AI company to others. That suddenly became the superstar because of the AI. Now, if you've been kind of following stocks, you'll know that Nvidia went nuts because everybody and a dog wanted a piece of the action of at least the AI boom. And Nvidia, the kind of pick and shovel kind of play for that gold rush, if you will. Now, Dom basically said, look, as crypto really goes mainstream, especially for payments, new investors might flock to what they perceive as the safe bet or the big player in the same way that retail investors piled into Nvidia when AI caught fire. Now, according to him, 93% of people still don't own any cryptocurrency, which kind of still blows my mind. But hey, early adopters unite. So imagine a tidal wave then of newbies finally deciding to dip their toes in crypto because they kept hearing about blockchain this or crypto payments that. Many of them, won't want to do hours of research on which coin to actually pick. They'll go for the name recognition and the utility. Now, Bitcoin, might be just too expensive or too slow for the daily stuff. Ethereum's great, but, it has its own issues too. And then there's XRP, designed for fast payments, already working with banks. I can totally see, Aunt Karen and Uncle Bob saying we need crypto for payments. So, okay, let's get some XRP. That one's used by banks, right? And suddenly, boom, retail participation skyrockets, right? Retail FOMO is then real. And I mean, I've lived through 2017 and 2021. I've seen how crazy, it can get when the herd really does come on running. So, we have global payment flows, plus a retail investor wave. But Dom's not done yet. He actually throws in some big guns, institutional money. Now, this part kind of made me sit up straight because it kind of hints at some pretty interesting stuff, and it hits, well, let's just say, close to home. Right, for years, I've watched Wall Street sniff around crypto like a cat around a new piece of furniture. Kind of cautious, kind of curious. Now, Dom kind of expects that with the rise of crypto ETFs and more regulatory clarity. The professional money managers are finally going to take the plunge, and when they do, guess what? They're not touching the super speculative low-cap meme coin bullshit with a 10-foot pole. Right? These fund managers have bosses and clients and shareholders. They'll be going for the established top-tier assets, the Bitcoins, the Ethereums, and likely the XRPs, Cardanos, Solanas, Suis, the big guns. Basically, they're going to stick to what, at least the coins with high volume, real use cases, and relatively less crazy volatility. So, if those guys start allocating even a single-digit percentage of their portfolios to crypto, that is huge amounts of money. We're talking pension funds, hedge funds, ETFs, all grabbing a piece. Now, Dom believes that this dynamic could solidify XRP as a top 5 cryptocurrency for the long haul, making it a go-to choice whenever big money wants crypto exposure. So picture a scenario where your boring 401k mutual fund has a dash of XRP in it. It's wild, right? I know, but it's not impossible. So at this point, I kind of was nodding along, kind of gingerly. I admit, right, part of me was like, take my money, XRP, go brrr, because, it was an exciting vision. But the seasoned crypto investor in me, the one who's been through every single hype cycle and every rug pull under the sun, says, hold up. Let's stress test all of this. So I look into who this Dom guy actually is and whether he's actually just, talking smoke. It turns out that EZA, that's the company that he co-founded, isn't some random startup either. They actually have a partnership with Ripple to get over 1 million developers building on the XRP Ledger. That was right, 1 million developers. Even if that's an aspirational kind of goal, the fact that they're aiming that high is pretty damn bullish. Right? More devs on XRP's Ledger means more apps and more innovation and more reasons to use XRP. And Ripple, the company behind XRP's ecosystem, is also flexing some muscles lately, right? Dom pointed out that Ripple has been busy getting licenses around the world and even launched a stablecoin called RLUSD. Now that stablecoin is is rather interesting. Right, stablecoins are, of course, like the backbone of the crypto trading and DeFi world. So having one on the XRPL, that's Ripple's blockchain, by the way, could actually draw in a lot of activity if done right. Oh, and get this, Ripple acquired a company called Hidden Road, which is a prime broker, basically a big player in the financial world. So when I heard that, it kind of clicked for me that Ripple is not really playing small ball. They're gearing up for at least to integrate XRP into the very heart of traditional finance. It's kind of like seeing puzzle pieces of a master plan, right? Licenses, stablecoins, prime brokerage, all kind of fitting together to make XRP more useful and more connected to the world's money flows. And here's another thing, right, that Dom mentioned is, unlike Ethereum, XRP hasn't had that kind of big DeFi or killer decentralized application moment just yet. Ethereum's price went through the roof when DeFi took off because suddenly everyone needed ETH to, do a million different decentralized finance things. XRP, on the other hand, has kind of been a kind of one-trick pony so far. Great for payments, not so much happening in terms of smart contracts or DeFi craze. But if XRP finds its kind of breakout use case beyond just payments, like a new kind of hot DeFi platform or maybe some NFT ecosystem or whatever, well, that could actually add rocket fuel to the demand. He even noted that XRP's market cap once hit around $210 billion without that kind of breakout moment. Now, I remember those days. Like, my portfolio was looking rather good for a hot minute or two. So the potential is clearly there. It's kind of like a sleeping giant in some ways. Now, before I go any further here and accidentally start sounding like a crazed infomercial, because, I know all this sounds super optimistic, let me kind of put on my kind of party pooper hat here for just a second, because let me kind of do let me do one better and drop a necessary, reality check. And this one might just shock you, but I'm not a financial advisor, and nothing in this video is financial advice. Cryptocurrencies are highly volatile, and you could lose all of the money that you invest. It's important that you do your own research and consult a qualified professional. After all, your investments are entirely your responsibility, and you should know that nothing is ever guaranteed when it comes to investing. Neither I, this channel, nor YouTube are liable for any losses, and this video today is for entertainment and educational purposes only. All right, so we got the disclaimer out of the way. We had to do it. You know how it goes. We've got to keep things legal and, of course, honest. Because honestly, even after hearing Dom's reasoning, I'm not telling you to go all in on XRP or any coin for that matter. I'm just as much in the kind of learning and wondering phase as you might be, right? In fact, after reading all of this, I kind of hopped into our community Discord server, shameless plug. Here is that it's completely free and full of friendly people like you and I, and the link for it is in the description down below. And when I was in there, I kind of threw the question out. $1,000 XRP, crazy or possible? And man, the responses were all over the place. Some people were like, bro, I'll retire if that ever happens. Give me those sweet gains. Others are kind of more measured, saying, hey, it could happen if half the world's banks use XRP, but that's a big if. And of course, there are the hardcore skeptics. Dude, stop the cap, right? That would make XRP bigger than Amazon, Apple, and Google combined. But then those people don't really understand market cap. Market cap is no barrier to price discovery if the price dictates the market cap. But you can join the Discord and we can have further discussions about that if you need a reminder about how market cap works here in the crypto space. Unlike, of course, the stock market, slightly different. But anyway, you know what? The skeptics, they had a point to a degree because it still takes an awful lot of fresh capital to push the price towards $1,000 with the current supply way it is, right? We would be looking at tens of billions of dollars or hundreds of billions of dollars needed to kind of push the value that way. But it's not impossible, and it might sound ridiculous, but nothing has happened, at least nothing like that has happened in the history, doesn't mean that it can't happen in the future, right? There was a time when people laughed at the idea of Bitcoin getting to $10,000, $20,000, $100,000, yet here we are. Now, this is where I had to remind myself as well, and I'm kind of playing devil's advocate against my own skepticism, but just because something has never happened before does not mean that it cannot happen again or happen in the future. 10 years or so, the idea of Apple or Microsoft being worth over $2 trillion was also absurd, right? Heck, the idea that a piece of digital art, NFT anyone, right, could actually sell for $69 million was also laughable until it happened. Now, I'm old enough to remember when people said Bitcoin would never hit $1,000, $10,000, $20,000 is impossible, I remember, until it happened, of course. Then it was obvious in hindsight. Now, Dom's take is that even though $1,000 sounds crazy high, it's actually not inherently impossible. It's a long shot, sure, but it's not impossible if the world really does shift towards crypto in a big way. And maybe XRP doesn't need to take over the entire stock market's value. Maybe by 2030, the entire pie is just a hell of a lot bigger if blockchain becomes as kind of ubiquitous as the internet. the total value in this space could dwarf what we see today. Still, I am not completely delusional. I know that there are hurdles here. For one, there's competition. Other cryptocurrencies or even central bank digital currencies could still steal XRP's thunder in cross-border payments. Also, to reach those kind of heights, XRP has to really kind of earn its keep via utility, not just speculation. So the good news is that we already are seeing moves towards that utility, right? Banks and companies are testing the waters with crypto more than ever before. Just recently, I read about more and more fintech firms exploring XRP for settlements, and the fact that Ripple is, aligning itself with existing financial infrastructure. Remember that Hidden Road acquisition and all of those licenses? Well, this is all encouraging. And on the retail side, will the masses actually come on in? Possibly, right? Crypto adoption tends to kind of grow in spurts. One big bull run and suddenly everyone from their barber to your grandmother is asking how on earth to buy XRP or Bitcoin. Now, if that next wave sees XRP as the crypto for payments and, settlement, well, Dom's Nvidia parallel could actually play on out. Now, by the way, if you are one of those people still just learning about crypto and thinking of jumping on in, first of all, welcome, and second, please be careful out there and stick around communities like us. Again, we have that Discord that I mentioned earlier, because you can learn a lot and avoid a lot of the mistakes by talking with other people. Also, don't rush to buy anything or, just because someone on YouTube, that's me, by the way, this guy right here, is excited about it. Remember that disclaimer that I gave you earlier. And another thing you also need to keep an eye on, right, is the regulation. Now, I know it's boring, but it's very important. XRP's journey hasn't exactly been smooth sailing, right? You can SEC lawsuit and all that stuff. But, for XRP to kind of reach its full potential, right, we need a clear set of regulations so that big players can feel safe using it, right? We seem to kind of be slowly getting there, but it's just not a done deal just yet. But if by 2030 crypto is fully regulated around the world and integrated into finance, well, that could lift all boats, including XRP. Now, let's talk about the timing on all of this and my personal plan here, right? Because 2030 is just 5 years away, right? And in crypto time, that's more like 50 years, let's face it, right? We'll do a 10x on that time frame. Now, I can guarantee that one thing is true here. It's going to be a bumpy ride getting from where we are today to there, right? There will be crashes, there will be rallies, and I won't be surprised if XRP goes back and down to maybe $2 or all the way up to $10 and then back to $5, all in that small time period, right? Now, if you're an XRP holder, maybe you are watching this, of course, you've got to have some kind of patience here and maybe some kind of, anticipation for the volatility, heartburn that's going to ensue, right? Now, I've held this coin through some of the very darkest days and some of the euphoric peaks as well. And I've questioned myself 100 times over. Why am I still holding this? And then there's news like this 1000 XRP price prediction, and it comes along and I remember why, right? It's because even if a fraction of that comes true, it could actually change lives around the world, right? Now, speaking of holding and buying, here's a quick note. If you're looking to grab some XRP or other cryptocurrencies, make sure that you use a reliable exchange. Now, I personally use Kraken Pro, right? When I went, so when I want to kind of get a stack, a little bit more XRP or something like that, or take some profits or spikes, then, it's got low fees and it's got solid security. So shameless plug, I have an affiliate link for a lot of different exchanges. I'm using Kraken at the moment, but I also really like BitGet and Blowfin. And in the link in the description down below, you'll have all of the different exchanges that we use. Now, personally, what I've done is I've signed up and registered myself on all of the exchanges. So I go visit that link, click all of those. They are affiliate links, so if you do sign up and trade using those links, it supports the channel here at no extra cost to yourself. Now, that to one side, when you sign up to multiple exchanges, you're setting yourself up for a future where maybe one of the exchanges no longer exists, or it's so busy you can't actually log on. By having access to multiple exchanges, you can basically hedge your bets. You can make sure that you are readily available or have an exchange readily available KYC'd in advance for when you are ready to sell. So go check out all of the exchanges that we personally use in the link in the description down below. Now, because of UK laws, those links are not available in the UK. For more information, you can join the Discord that we mentioned earlier. All the links are also down in the Discord server, and we can help you navigate some of that as well. But ultimately, those are the exchanges that we personally use and that we think are actually worth signing up for. We don't have any of these kind of smaller niche kind of exchanges down there. We only have the ones that we actually have either met the teams and the people who work there personally, have visited their head office and actually met some of the managing directors or CEOs of these companies. These are reputable exchanges, so well worth checking out. And like I said, if you do sign up and trade using those links, it will cost you nothing extra, but it does support the channel here. So if you want to kind of contribute to keeping the lights on, then definitely worth doing that. It's a nice, easy, free way for you guys to support what we do here. Anyway, let's go ahead and move on, because, you know, I should actually just say one last thing, right? Thanks if you do go ahead and sign up to those exchanges, but whether you use them or not, just stick with something reputable that you trust and that you use, right? We've seen way too many sketchy exchanges go bust in the past. So just a word of warning, it's well worth making sure that you have access to only reputable exchanges. If it's not a reputable exchange, you're probably going to want to pivot to one that is a reputable exchange. Anyway, after all of this research and all of this, I guess, soul searching, where do I actually stand? Do I think XRP will hit $1,000? I'm optimistic, but I'm also realistic, right? In my heart, I would love to see it, right? I would probably freak out about it and dance in the streets if it ever did happen, but I'm also not betting my mortgage on it either, right? I treat it like a moonshot, an exciting possibility, not a guarantee. In fact, the journey to $1,000 in a way matters more to me than the actual destination, because even if XRP gets to, let's say, $50 or $100 someday, that's still an enormous deal and likely means that the crypto space has truly gone mainstream in payments. It would mean the vision behind XRP is being realized, at least a significant kind of extent, or to a significant extent anyway. Now, this whole exploration, it kind of taught me something rather important. Right? You've got to keep an open mind, but also stay grounded. It's okay to dream a little bit. That's kind of what keeps us in crypto during the rough times, right? But just kind of back it up with research and don't fall for blind hype, right? Dom gave me and a lot of others a fresh perspective on what is possible, and for that, I'm truly grateful. Whether he is ultimately right or wrong, time, of course, will tell. But at least now we have a kind of clearer picture of what the road ahead might look like and what milestones to watch out for, right? Increased network usage, retail adoption, upticks, institutional buy-ins, and a flourishing XRP ecosystem. So to kind of wrap all this up, I'll leave you with one thought, right? In the grand story of technological revolutions, there are always moments that sound unbelievable until they actually happen, right? Maybe XRP hitting $1,000 will be one of those moments, or maybe not, right? But you can bet that I'll be here watching with my XRP bags in hand and hopeful but skeptical eyes, right, peeled. Now, after all, a part of all of this fun, I guess, is not knowing how the story actually ends, right? So if you've enjoyed this kind of rabbit hole adventure, make sure to hit that subscribe button and let's see where this crazy crypto journey takes us next.